challenges. Let's talk about events. So when we talk about distributed teams, there it is, time zone differences. The biggest one that, the biggest group that faces these tend to be distributed teams, normally because the distributed teams takes the geographically dispersed role as well, or composition, where folks are maybe in India and other folks are in California. That's quite a separation in time zone, right? And language barriers tend to get in the way of that for similar reasons. Um, Conversations going off tangent, right? So what you hear is one side just starting to talk about their particular issues, and then another side talking about their issues, and they go off and they feed each other because they're able to look at each other in a way that excludes the rest, and it goes off on tangents. Lack of consensus, a way to agree on things, it just takes a lot longer, and difficulty holding retrospectives. Right, we talked about that one. Distributed members, the coordination between the different time zones becomes difficult in this case, because you could be introducing 7 people from 7 different time zones in a fully distributed environment. And that could be challenging. Longer activity times, just getting people on board. Where do I click? Oh, hold up, my video isn't working. That takes time. Um, Unable to attend from home, there's that infrastructure challenge that you brought up earlier. Individuals may not be able to attend from home either because of corporate policy or because they simply don't have that infrastructure or the bandwidth. In some places, maybe even electricity could be a factor sometimes, right? Missing members, this is one that we were surprised at, right? And think about how that frustrating that could be. If you're holding an event and a member is just not there and nowhere to be found, that becomes now a significant challenge. So teams have mitigated that by requiring individuals that if they have an emergency, or they can be that they text or that they email or that they Slack, they provide a list through their team working agreement. So you mitigate this one through your team working agreement in terms of what are the expectations if you cannot make an event, right? And then lack of participation. You might attend, but your video's off, you're muted, you're off to the side doing other things. Hybrid distribution has the previous plus ineffective communication. You don't understand me. Maybe I sound a little like this, and that becomes very difficult for you to understand. So how teams are organized affects how teams can connect, and the quality of their voice, their video, their artifacts, what they're sharing. Frequent distractions, that one we can't fault anyone for now. We fault COVID-19 for that. We are living in the same place that we are working, so there's a lot of that happening. Lack of preparation to the meeting. So in other words, what we normally see is, oh, wait a minute, I didn't have a conference room booked for this meeting. Can everyone wait? Now I am a remote member trying to dial into a meeting that hasn't started, and I have no visibility into what's going on over there. And next thing you know, the whole thing breaks apart and the event failed. The disengagement between the team members, just the fact that it's easy to hide. So calling on team members, hey, any thoughts on this, or can we retrospect on this particular item? And then of course, low retrospective outcomes. The fact that, hey, retrospectives, hey, here's a note, send it in, okay, we're done. It's just not a very effective way to get things into our Kaizen mode, right? So these are the challenges we normally are seeing. And distraction from home, Warren mentioned, is a big factor. Thank you for that, Warren. Event challenges, I'm gonna add to that, right? And if you could tell us what your event challenges are, they might not be listed here. It would be great to see that, right? Excellent. Yeah, workspace from home is the big one, right? It just is where we are today with COVID. We're just sort of learning to live with that, and turning on your virtual background is a way to and sort of keep those background distractions from happening, and being understanding of your teammates and that they might be struggling with children that are being virtual, going to virtual school, and at the same time working. It is hard. Sometimes just having simple social time where we understand each other's predicament helps us to be more tolerant of the reality we're in right now. Right. Also, team working agreement helps with that, because what was my comfortable time to work might not be anymore. And we might come to an agreement that I prefer to work later in the day where I can focus more. That of course depends on the whole team. And that's why a team working agreement with working hours and contact and means of communication might be an effective way to mitigate a lot of this, right? The spouse also working from home. We are all dealing with that. Yes, some of us have the ability to be in a room, others don't, where we're sharing the same space, and now we need to share the same sound or communication, right? Long and unfruitful meetings, all actions and or follow-ups. Yes, we normally mitigate that one with either a talking stick. Some applications like WebEx allow you to pass the beach ball that they have, and that becomes the way in which you know that you can speak. Others keep a time box. I keep a very clear time box whenever we are in a subject. I literally open a clock and I run it whenever we're time boxing specific items, and the team gets to see that in the sharing your screen is your friend because it keeps everybody on the same page. And meetings with no agenda. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. That's a huge one, right? Just going into a meeting and not knowing what we're going to be tackling. I prefer to always send the event invites modified for each of the events, knowing what we're going to be seeing during the sprint review if we're practicing Scrum, and knowing how those items are going to progress, right? So an agenda is a big way to keep us focused. It tends to be also because teams might not be familiar with the event, and coaching them through the purpose of the event and what the outcomes are that are expected goes a long way as well, right?